Hollywood Actor Podcast with Matt Page, Part 2.
Well, how do you best showcase and present yourself for these co-star auditions, or for an audition for an independent feature film?
Oh gosh. I mean, I guess I just hope that I guess that's been a process of actually kind of trying to let go, and trying to just trust people who are involved. And also, hoping that perhaps the role or the structure of the film plays to processes that I'm comfortable with. I've been able to work on a couple of films recently where comedic improv is part of the job, and I'm glad that we're not just stuck with the script. That because there is that fear that you're not going to be able to think of anything funny, but if you're with a director that's willing to give you the leeway to know that you may need a couple of takes to find what's funny about the scene, and they give you that, then having the faith that will happen. So yeah, it really depends. It changes from job to job. There's some acting jobs where I feel like I really give the best that I have to offer, and then there are other acting jobs where I'm like, God, I hope they cut that out.
You keep talking about your comedy strengths and your improv strengths. Did you take any classes, or you just feel like you're naturally a funny, off the cuff type of guy?
I did some improv in the scene study classes that I took, but I haven't really taken a lot of formal improv, and I think I think that it really has just been an instinctive thing, and I probably would have benefited from more formal training in that respect. But it's something that I've felt more comfortable with in some ways than dramatic acting. So I think that I've sort of defaulted to that. But in more recent years, is something that I'm more interested in it. I'm interested in what's funny and why it's funny, and trying to explore that and trying to figure out like what's funny about a particular scene, or what can be funny about a particular scene structurally, timing wise. So I don't know. Maybe it's that I'm really interested in it. I perhaps more interested in it than other types of scenes, because I'm just really intrigued as to why something is funny, because it's so tricky. So I don't know, but it's something I'm very interested in.
It's kind of technical too, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I used to think that it wasn't. I used to think, well, you just have your good days and bad days. But I've also found that if you're in a position where you have to finish a scene and it has to be funny, you can begin to break it down and be like, okay, well, why isn't it funny now? Like, why isn't it funny the way it's written? Is it that it's not, I'll look at a scene, whether it's something that I'm a hired actor on or whether it's my own stuff, and look at it and go, well, it's just like, we've heard this joke before. Okay. Like the punchline is not surprising. Okay. Well, what can we make surprising about it? Or is there a way to distract people from what the obvious punchline is by saying something 2 lines before it that will make people think about something else? And then you bring up the punchline, which would have been obvious if you had just gone right to it. But we distracted the audience for a second so that we had to remind them what the scene was about. There's all these things that breaking it down, that the more you do it, the more you start to figure out like, oh, okay, there is a rhythm and a structure to this if you can work your way back to it.
So you're finding a little bit of that control as an actor by finding those scripts, those roles that you get to break down a little bit, contributing a slight more amount than just being a hired gun saying a one-line co-star in a TV show then. Was that happening in some of the first roles, or were they straightforward one-liners?
Oh, gosh. I'm trying to remember where I ever got to early on. I mean, I got cut out of my first thing completely. And found out that's why you don't tell everybody you're in a movie. I told my family, they all went to see it on opening day, and I was totally cut out of the movie, and I was like, oh shoot, they cut. I only had one line. I don't know why I thought I was going to make it into the movie, but I would say I'm trying to remember.
Well, things like your work in Manhattan or Waco.
Oh, sure. Manhattan was great. That was such a fun little show, and it was a great team, and those were great scripts too. I mean, that was something where I really felt like we could absolutely just rely on mostly what was on the page, and then all the directors I worked with, because I did episodes in each season of that, and they would let us kind of play around too. They would let us sort of figure out like the timing or add a little thing. They were really great. So that was a nice balance where the scripts were already good, the team was already good, and then they were interested in what you had to say. And if you had a little nuance you wanted to add to something, they were generally pretty cool about that. And yeah, so things like that worked out really well. I'm trying to think of other ones. When I worked on Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, the Tina Fey movie, that was another one where we would do a scripted take, and then they would just let us go off like crazy and just see what we could create. And I was really happy that just a little bit of the improv, they did these interviews with us. And there was an interview montage, and there was some scripted stuff, and then they just went off the script and just came up, said whatever we could come up with. And I ended up coming up with some weird thing about talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Predator movie, and it made it in. And I remember actually the director come up to me. It was a 2-person director team. I remember one of them coming up to me afterwards and being like, "Where did the Predator stuff come from?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I have no idea why I said that." He said, "That was wild." I was like, "Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully you can use it." And so it is cool when some of that stuff happens. But I definitely, I want to reinforce it there. I want to reinforce too. There are plenty of situations, again, like Manhattan, again, like a show like Breaking Bad, where the scripts are already so good and the people running the team already know so clearly what kind of show they're making that I don't need as an actor to control any of that. I'm just showing up and just like hoping I do what they want because they're so good at what they do already.
Okay, it's a thing to be executed.
Yeah, definitely. There are some that you're on that you're just like, gosh, I mean, these people know exactly what kind of stuff they're doing. I mean, a movie like, or working on a movie, I mean, where there was no comedic, there wasn't any comedic stuff as far as what I was doing, but a movie like Sicario, and I just had a very small role in that. But being with such high caliber talent, and something that Roger Deakins is shooting, and Denis the director, and Brolin and Emily Blunt and Benicio, like just sort of being around those people and just quietly like watching them craft a scene and just doing my best not to screw up or get in the way, and just to say my couple of lines and be like, okay, just don't say or do anything stupid. Just do what they tell you to do, because obviously they all know what they're doing. But even then, the director Denis was very, very free flowing with his process and asked us questions and had us rehearse. So yeah, I mean, there are some projects where you get on and everything just flows so well. It's just very natural, and you just do exactly what they give you and do your best. So, there's plenty of opportunities.
Do you think
like
that comes from like a collaborative spirit they're trying to nurture, or the fact that they know that they have such a tight script, they have a little bit of wiggle room now, or, they have a little less stress, they don't have to rush the production, so they are able to be a little bit more easy, comfortable, collaborative?
That's a good question, because I'm asking myself that regularly, because I'm trying to remember who said. I feel like I've referenced Kevin Costner. I feel like Kevin Costner is the one. I think it's in his Inside the Actors Studio interview. I think he said a bad movie is just as hard to make as a good one. And I think that I think everybody's trying to do their best. And I still don't understand why certain projects come out so good and others come out so not good. And I don't know if you can always feel it when you're doing it, but I know that there are projects I've been on that seem to just come together so well, but I don't know why that is. I really don't know why that is. I think everyone's usually trying their best. And I don't know. I hesitate to commit to any perspective on that, because I really think most people are trying to make something really good.
Well, it's a lot of resources to spend if you're not trying your best. I just think that different people, they have different ideas of what their best is or how to control something. They want to be a little bit they want to micromanage a situation because they think that's going to lead to the better result. When in fact, if they were a little bit more laissez-faire, let the person get on with the job that they were hired to do, or gave them a little bit of breathing room, it might have led to a more effective working of something.
Yeah, it could be, and yet I don't know where. I don't know where being meticulous and very opinionated about that stuff helps or hurts you, because obviously,
Right.
stories of really incredible filmmakers like David Fincher. I imagine Fincher's pretty sure of what he wants and how to get it, and he has proven himself time and time again. So if I was ever lucky enough to work with him, I would not presume to know better. I would be there
Yeah.
to just do what he tells me because he's a brilliant filmmaker.
There's so many variables, right?
Yeah,
And like
there's a ton of
Kubrick,
variables.
he shot so many takes, and then Clint Eastwood famously takes one or two, and they're both equally, well, very highly respected directors, obviously.
Exactly. And as an actor, you're just kind of there doing as many or as few things. I mean, I can see that being nerve-wracking in both directions. If I do 70 takes of something, I would start to think, geez, I must really suck, because if they haven't gotten what they want
Yeah.
by take 70, like, what am I even doing acting? Whereas if someone did one take and moved on, I'd be like, oh God, I thought we were just warming up. I don't know that was a good take. Like, can we do
Right.
it again?
Oh, oh my God. Or is he hiring the people that he knows they can just hit the mark, do the thing, that's it,
Exactly.
and they can do it on the first time. But
Exactly.
I don't know too many actors that do work like that. So I don't know. Maybe he's taking care of it in the edit, or I'm
Sure, I
not
would
sure.
be. Yeah, I don't know either, and I would certainly be nervous about both of those scenarios. But yeah, it's the entire process is, in many respects, continues to be elusive. So when I'm on something, I'm always happy to work, and when I end up being in something that comes out really well, I'm just thrilled. Um, because I know how tough it is to make something good, because everyone's trying, but you just don't know until it's done.
Well, obviously, you've been finding a lot of success in the film industry in New Mexico. What Hollywood's been bringing in, and the independent shorts and features that have been coming up from native New Mexicans. Was there any project that you really felt started cementing you as a real professional actor in the state?
Oh man, you know, I would say that's a good question. I sort of feel like it was simultaneously. It was some local projects that I got hired on where I got more than a day or two. I sort of feel like then I could be wrong about this, but I sort of feel like locally, if you book a role or two where you're significantly featured,
Mm-hmm.
casting notices that. I think, because they want you to do well. Local casting agents want you to book. And so when I got Odd Thomas, which was a movie directed by Stephen Sommers and starred the late Anton Yelchin, really wonderful actor. Really tragic, him passing away, and he was wonderful to work with. And but that was one of the first things that I did more than a day or two. I had a week of shooting, and then had to come back. They had to shut the production down for, I think, a month to go get more money, and then once they got the money, they came back and shot the rest of the movie. But that was the first thing where I felt like I was prominently featured. I was clearly in the film. I had a lot of acting. I had a lot of stunts, and I was so psyched to book that role. And that was one of the first things I had done. Where I felt like I got a feeling for what it was like to be, I don't know, to have more to do and to be more prominently featured. And then after that, I managed to book other roles in the following years where, I was on set for 3 or 4 or 5 days or a couple of weeks, and started to really feel like, oh wow, this is a whole nother experience than being a day player,
Mm. And it must have been before that when you were starting to do those co-stars, maybe a guest star or two, but you were putting together that production company, Riff Raff New Media. How was that paralleling your acting career?
And for a while, it was just helping me pay the bills and have a flexible schedule. That was actually one of the biggest attributes of it, was that because it was my own company, um, I could, I was almost always, I'm going to say 95% of the time, I was always available for auditions,
Okay.
because I could make my own schedule. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important things, was always being able to, at the drop of a hat, be available for an audition. And I just felt like that was a really helpful thing. So being self-employed and being able to make my own schedule, was really, really important. The other thing was, eventually creating, the web series, the YouTube series that I did, eventually got popular enough that, some local casting people would tell me, like, hey, I saw your show. I saw that you are doing this other thing, and, good job. And just made them aware that, I had created something where I was acting and it was getting some attention. And I sort of felt like maybe that, it was just nice that people were aware of it, that they saw that I
Mm.
was, performing, at first just on YouTube, and then eventually live performances where, it was sort of being validated, professionally.
And that web series, of course, is Enter the Dojo.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you start out with commercials and industrials with your production company, which led you up to Enter the Dojo?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able, I don't think, to do the show if I hadn't, for several years, steadily accrued a professional, camera and lighting and sound package that allowed me to create something independently that, had enough production value to, to look like a regular show, at least the best we could do under the circumstances. But the equipment, has become so good over the years. The tools that we all have access to has gotten better and better. But yeah, being able to, produce my own show was in direct accordance, not only with having my own equipment, but getting the practice of making, content for clients who were paying me. So it had to be in focus. It had to
Yeah.
be properly lit. It had to sound good. And so getting a sense of how to create some production value, so that by the time I did create that show, I felt like I had made, about a dozen short films, a handful of 48-hour film projects. And, I had done enough industrials, actually quite a few, dozens of industrial films, where I thought, okay, I feel like I have a sense of how to make something look and sound good enough that people will pay attention to it. And so combining that with finally identifying, an audience that had a hunger for martial arts content, all of those things kind of aligned, together.
Yeah, I'd love if you could continue to talk about that development and how you've been continuing to speak about Enter the Dojo at these different conferences around the world, touring with it.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting evolution. It started as a web series, and the intention was to, sell it to Hollywood. So we made a few episodes, and once we got done with the first season, it was the first thing I'd done that had gained some traction online. I had uploaded my short films to YouTube, and I'd have a short film online for like a year, and it would get like 250 views. And I was like, okay, so no one's paying attention to this. And then, we uploaded the first few episodes of Enter the Dojo, and we managed to connect with, people online who were into martial arts videos, and they loved it. And so they began to share it. And, once our YouTube channel hit about 1 million channel views, enough people had seen us that I got invited to do meetings in LA, and I got to talk to various networks and have meetings at studios and with managers and things like that. And that was very exciting, but nobody knew what to do with us. So that just, after about a year of that, it kind of just, nothing happened. I mean, people were interested, but they didn't know what to do with us. So I kept producing the show independently. And I figured out that if I released videos more often, I could actually monetize them. I could make some money off YouTube. I could get sponsors. I could sell T-shirts online. And then that evolved into making live appearances because our fan base got big enough in the martial arts world that people began to reach out and say, hey, could Master Ken, the character that I play on the show, could Master Ken make an appearance at our karate tournament or at our awards banquet? And that was something I had never thought of, and I had never done. I had never done stand-up comedy or anything like that, but I decided to give it a try, and I managed to put together enough of a routine where I started getting hired for that kind of stuff. And actually, a woman, Tiffany Richards, hired me for an event to make fun of her instructor, and then she said, and it went so well. My first gig was in a bar in front of like 100 drunk people celebrating this guy's birthday, and I roasted him for like 20 minutes, and it went really well. And she said, I think you could do this. I think you could actually, go do this at events. And I said, okay, well, if you can help me figure that out, I'd be happy to. So she managed me for a few years, just setting up these events, and began to send me to these events. And so that became a whole nother thing that now I still do. I make appearances at all kinds of events and play the character that I play from the YouTube show, and essentially do a form of stand-up comedy at these events and have a great time.
Sounds like that alone has got to keep you pretty busy.
Yeah, it really, there are years where it's kind of quiet. That's definitely not this year. I've already just this year I've done events in San Diego, Raleigh, Vegas, Toronto. Where did I just come back from? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I heard you were in Canada a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And I'm going back to Toronto in 3 weeks for a separate event, but in the same city. Yeah, we've been all over the place, and
they like their hockey and karate up there, huh?
Yeah, they do. They're such a fun bunch. They are, and the hosts are so great that Jonathan Kenny brought me up for his martial arts event and had a great had a blast up there. But yeah, it's a great thing to do. It's a really fun gig. I get to travel. I get to meet great people. I get to entertain people, and it's and so. It just is this whole other thing, but it's something that also has to run simultaneously to my acting work. I can't just depend on one or the other. When I'm traveling to these events, I can't just do that. When I get back home, I have to create more videos to entertain people online so that they will buy T-shirts and so that they will hire me for live events. So, whenever I'm traveling to an event, I'm planning what I'm going to do at the event, and then I'm planning how I'm going to write and shoot and edit and distribute more videos when I get back. And then I'm trying to figure out, which sponsored videos we have to shoot this week to get out to the sponsors. It's a very, it's a very complicated process, but it's a lot of fun.
That's quite the company that you've built. Is there a team around you that's helping to support all of that?
No, it's really, I subcontract certain things here and there. Sometimes I'll hire somebody to help me with something specifically, but a lot of it is still very insulated. And actually meeting other content creators, I was kind of relieved to find that some other people, I do know other people who have channels that are bigger than mine that have a staff, but I've also met other teams who have 3, 4, 5 million subscribers, and it's like them and 2 other people. And it's like, I'm much more right now in that model where it's like, it's a very self-contained model. In order to keep it profitable, it has to be a pretty condensed organization.
And 5 seasons. Are we going to see any more?
I hope so. We've been working on that more lately, trying to figure out we want to give, because fans are asking for more of the actual series. Nowadays we do a lot more technique videos, and we comment on trending topics and things like that.
Okay.
But we
Are
definitely,
those on YouTube, or do you post those on Instagram, different platforms? Okay.
All three, yeah. YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and different content at different times. But I'm working on a variety of different scripted content that we can go back to, because I love that format of having other characters, and basically, the show being much more like a sitcom, whereas nowadays we spend a lot more time doing interview format and commentary format and slapstick stuff. But I definitely want to get back to the season format.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening.